right now. I want to welcome to the program Second Amendment attorney and scholar Steve Hallbrook. Steve, thank you, sir, for joining us today.
Oh, my pleasure, Cam, as always.
It's good talking to you. And Emily Miller, our friend of the Washington Times, reporting that your client, Dick Heller, challenging D.C.'s gun registration scheme, and you all have filed for a quick ruling in the case known as Heller 2.
That's right. I don't know how quick the ruling will be, but last month the district filed its own summary judgment motion. We just filed ours 2 days ago. And basically these motions say that as a matter of law, we're entitled to win. And what we've done basically is to submit a lot of factual data. We went through a discovery period with D.C. where we took depositions of people in charge of the registration unit. We took Chief Lanier's deposition and gathered a lot of evidence, and then we submit all these papers and say basically that there's no need to even have a trial because we should win on the merits.
Oh, really? Okay, and you know, when you talk about the merits of your case, you're challenging. What exactly are you challenging, Steve? Just so that folks understand, because D.C. has changed their gun laws a couple of times since the original Heller case.
Well, yeah, actually more than that. And in 2008, Heller was decided. So D.C. responded by making it harder than ever before to register guns. Rifles and shotguns used to be registered in an easier way, and they made it harder. It's like they were getting revenge. So we challenged the new registration requirements and some other things and went up to the Court of Appeals, and the Court of Appeals said, well, we're going to uphold basic pistol registration, but we don't know if it's if the Second Amendment allows long guns to be registered at all, and if so, they've got a lot of extra requirements here that are extraordinary, like it expires every 3 years and you have to re-register it, as an example. So we're going to send the case back down to the trial court to make a decision on all that, and so that's been over a year ago, and we did a lot of discovery, and now we have filed our papers. And the biggest story to me is the following. If you go back to 2008, the committee report, when they made all these extra registration requirements, made it more difficult, they said what's critical about registration is that it allows officers to know whether a gun is present at the scene when they respond to a call. And so by implication, they acted like they look at the registration records and they find out whether wherever they're going, somebody has a gun there. Now, that was preposterous to start with, to say that, because no cop in his right mind would assume there's no gun somewhere if there's no registered gun there.
Right.
And you wouldn't even be going to a place where there was a registered gun, because registered gun people don't commit any crimes. So, but it turns out to be totally bogus. D.C. does not do that. The cops don't have access to any registration data when they go to a scene.
Oh, they don't?
They don't. And they've litigated this case all these years as if they did. And
wow.
So it's pretty incredible. In fact, the head of the registration unit said, to his credit, that they protect those records carefully, and they're not about to let the records be accessed by any officer on the beat or anybody. They have very high privacy standards for the records, and since they know it will be useless to check the registration file before you go to the scene of a robbery or whatever it is, that they don't give access to those records at all. The only time the records become relevant is if they want to arrest somebody because they've got a gun without papers.
Jeez. Okay. So, Steve, as you say, you're not sure when the court will rule on this. But I mean, look, it sounds like no matter what the court's decision is on the summary judgment, you want to take this case to trial.
Well, we want to win.
Well, you want to win
without a trial. Both sides have filed motions for summary judgment. The court's going to rule one way or another on them. There's a chance he might want all or just some issues even to go to trial. Whoever is going to lose is going to go to the Court of Appeals again. But we think we've got a strong case. I mean, the Court of Appeals sent the case back saying, well, where's the justification to register rifles and shotguns? And part of that, of course, is that they're virtually never used in crimes in the district, and certainly not by residents. every couple of years you get some wacko who comes and shoots a rifle off and gets arrested, and they're not registered, and so most crimes in the district that have weapons are committed either with knives and blunt instruments or handguns, but virtually never are rifles or shotguns used. So we think we have a good case that the way the Court of Appeals framed it, that the court would say the Second Amendment's incompatible with requiring registration of rifles and shotguns, and then all these other requirements involving handguns, like that it expires, that you can only register one handgun a month. I mean, that's a really frivolous argument D.C. has made for that. They say, well, this is to prevent gun trafficking. So you can tell me, why would somebody bring a gun in from Maryland or Virginia or other state to D.C., register it, and then traffic it?
Right.
Why wouldn't you just bring it in and traffic it?
Well, yeah, and you say that the registration expires?
Yeah, it expires every 3 years. You have to register every gun every 3 years, and in fact, they now saying you have to come back and be fingerprinted every 3 years. That's the proposed regulation.
And pay all of the associated fees every 3 years.
Yeah, every gun has a fee to pay, and what they don't do is they have no regard for poor people in the District of Columbia. There's many people who can't afford to do all this. If they have a job, they can't take time off work. They're only the registration unit's only open Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. So, good luck if you have a regular job and you're just trying to eke by and make a living, or if you don't even have a job, you don't have these fees. I mean, we have several plaintiffs in the case. Apollon Jordan is an example. He's been fighting D.C. gun laws since the 70s, and he's not a wealthy person by any means. I mean, these laws have impact. They adversely affect people. It's like the old-fashioned poll tax, $1 a year.
Right.
Or you don't get to vote.
No, I listen, I absolutely. We were just talking about this on the show yesterday. I mean, if in order to exercise what the Supreme Court has declared to be an individual fundamental right, if you're expected to pay hundreds of dollars in fees, make multiple trips down to police headquarters, which is going to entail taking time off of work on multiple occasions. I mean, Steve, you're putting up so many roadblocks for people to simply exercise a right, and not only the right to keep and bear arms, but frankly, the right to be safe and secure in their home.
Right, and get this, there's a requirement that the chief can require you, and they have in many cases, require you to bring the gun with you when the registration is finalized. Okay, what laws are you going to break doing that? Or what if you're robbed along the way? It's going to be unloaded. You can't use it for defense purposes. Or what if a police officer sees you, man with gun? Let's shoot him.
Yeah,
I mean, there's all kinds of dangers there.
How do you? I'm pretty sure Metro doesn't allow you to take that firearm on the bus or subway. So how do you get there?
Well, I mean, D.C. itself prohibits carrying a firearm outside the home.
So you have to break the law in order to comply with the law.
Well, they would say, if they stopped you and you could convince them of where you were going, they might arrest you at the time. Maybe you'd have to go to court to prove it. Probably you couldn't be convicted if you were taking it down to the police station because they required it. But it entails all kinds of other dangers. Just Maryland, it's a felony to take a handgun outside your home. You can take it to a target range. There's no provision for taking it to the D.C. Registration Bureau.
But they swear they're not anti-gun, Steve. They're just in favor of a few common sense regulations.
Yeah, right. It's always common sense as a substitute for no sense.
Wow. All right. Well, listen, my friend, thank you so much for coming on the program today, and come back anytime. And I want to remind folks about your brand new book as well. Where can folks get it?
The new book is called Gun Control and the Third Reich, Disarming the Jews and Enemies of the State, and you can get it anywhere on the Internet, Amazon.com or independent.org. That's the nice thing about books. You can find them anywhere nowadays.
Absolutely. Steve, thank you again, and hope we can do this again very soon.
Absolutely, Cam. Thank you.
You too,
Bye-bye.
sir. You bet. Steve Hallbrook joining us here on Cam and Company.